leaders. At this point, our next speaker is, there's a draft campaign, urging people to draft for run for governor of Maryland. This is a draft campaign going on for a couple of months now. He is no stranger to the Maryland Republican Party. He is no stranger to policy debates here in Maryland. He served out as a Republican nominee for Congress in the congressional district of He served on a key commission under Chairman Nicholas Maryland Republican Party. He is the chairman of New Day, Maryland, which is the political action committee here in the state of Maryland, talking about key issues which are involved in Maryland taxpayers. And probably the most important thing of all, he is an officer, he's a major in the U.S. Marine Corps Reserve. And to show you the dedication that he has here today, he just came off the ship. He has not slept all night. He's come right here to talk to us this morning about the future of the state of Maryland and issues that are important to young Republicans. So at this time, I'm going to give you
Thank you all so much, and I'm honored to be here. Really, really am. You all are taking very different perspectives in your conversations here at the convention. Mine certainly does come from the state level. I'd like to chat with you for just a few minutes of what the state looks like, but really look at it from a national perspective and move forward. As young Republicans, I prepared my message for you all, although I look like a young Republican. I'm actually a little bit older than I look. You always want to say no, really. But as one that looks like a young Republican, I do have the chance and opportunity to kind of get out there in various counties, specifically in genres or ages where you have the 25, 30, or really the 20, 25-year-olds, Boone State University, Morgan State University, other colleges, historical black universities, as well as the University of Maryland and College Park. And I am convinced that as young Republicans going forward, there are three things that you or we are going to have to prepare ourselves for if we hope to make some serious headway in state politics here in Maryland and flip this thing from a blue state to a purple state and then eventually to a red state. Now, I believe that this state is a whole lot more purple than it is blue in social pockets, and it's a whole lot more purple than it is blue in certain fiscal conservative pockets. But all in all, it certainly is a blue state. One thing I'm being challenged with all the time, even I'm sure is my good friend who's here today, Dave Craig, Executive Craig, gets faced with all the time, is why in the world would you even consider a run for governor statewide here in the state of Maryland? In fact, I took a couple of gentlemen with me yesterday, to the RNC, black businessmen from Prince George's County, Democrat. And we went down to the RNC so that the RNC Chairman Priebus and his staff could see just how serious this draft was and I was in committing to reaching out to Prince George's County, Baltimore City, and Montgomery County. And one of the things that came right out their mouths is, listen, Maryland is not even on the radar. They must have said that, 4 or 5 times also yesterday? Maryland is not even on the radar. Because after this last series of votes, after this bloody bath that just came through, the comment was, Maryland we thought was leaning purple, it's bluer than blue. And I said to them that that's not necessarily true, and I can tell Maryland's not on your radar because you haven't been checking the outgoing polls, nor did you pay attention to how Maryland voted. The majority of the state of Maryland voted for Mitt Romney. Only 5 counties voted against him. Only 5. Now, albeit those 5 had the majority of voters in the state of Maryland, which is why Maryland was carried by our current president. But I can tell you that Maryland is definitely winnable. I think if you ask Executive Craig, he'll tell you the same thing. Maryland is definitely winnable. If you ask Delegate Ron George, he'll tell you the same thing. Maryland is definitely winnable. But the question becomes, what are we as conservatives prepared to do? Not in terms of compromising our values or our character. Because believe it or not, conservative values and character, as I understand them in the Republican Party, they just happen to be the values of our country. All you have to do is some research, look at some of the notable quotes from our past presidents, great men that stood in the limelight and actually in the line of fire for so many years in developing what we call this fragile Jeffersonian democracy. There's no question that our values line up more so with their values than those on the other side. But we have the same disadvantage that you all have as young Republicans in this state. We don't play the emotional card quite as well as our counterparts do on the other side. And at the end of the day, it's not a question as to whether we have the right ideas or the right principles. At the end of the day, the question that begs to be answered, that they always answer on the other side of the aisle is, who cares the most about our individual families? They did an outpoll, I'll give you this as an example. They did an outpoll after the election, and it has three very important questions. And this will kind of frame the next few minutes of my conversation with you. The first question they asked is, beyond the shadow of a doubt, you all mind if I walk around a little bit? Appreciate it. Beyond the shadow of a doubt, who do you believe which party has the best interest at heart when it comes to a balanced budget? Which party do you believe will balance the budget the best? Who do you have most confidence in balancing the budget? 58% voted Republican. 42% voted Democrat. Which do you believe will maintain a strong and robust defense? And how many of you in this particular poll believe the defense is important? 60% believe that security as well as financial issues are the two biggest issues that our country faces. 57% of those polled said that Republicans would do the best job maintaining our security. Now you would think when you look at security and finance that they're overwhelmingly the largest two issues we have to deal with in our state, that overwhelmingly we have a different president right now. But here's the question that made the difference, the third one. They asked this question: which party do you believe cares the most about your family? Which party do you believe overwhelmingly cares the most about your family? Republicans had 41% of that vote. If that doesn't resonate, if that doesn't get you to see where we need to start looking and what direction our party, not just national party, but our state party, absolutely needs to go into, then you're at the wrong convention, you're in the wrong room, and I'm the wrong guy to be talking to. Because I'm convinced there's three things as young Republicans, and as Republicans in this entire state, and I take the same message no matter where I go, that we have to focus on. The message, the diversity, and the unity. Those three things will determine whether or not we win in 2014. The message, the diversity, and the unity. By the message, I mean, what is your messaging? If you take a far-right leaning message that cares nothing about families and makes everybody responsible for their own actions on the Bowie State University, you're going to cause a fight. Whether you like me or not, doesn't matter. I'm not here to be liked. Hopefully I am here to be heard. And then based upon what you hear, you might like me a little bit. You can't take that message there. It doesn't mean that you have to compromise the value of your message either. Because when I go to these campuses, when I speak to people like this, I never guarantee that if we decide to run for governor, which we're leaning heavily toward, just in case you want to know, that we're going to provide or that we believe in any type of handout. We do believe in a better America. We do believe in better people. We do believe in fiscal responsibility. And we do believe in holding people accountable. But we say it very differently. Not differently in terms of I'm trying to mislead people, but differently in these terms. We need more jobs here so people can get more jobs and work here so that our unemployment can go down so everyone can contribute to their fair share and we can build a stronger America. That kind of conversation for people to interact without thinking, man, that guy just doesn't like black people. Believe it or not, I've been called a racist. Can you believe that? I don't even fit the prototype, do I? Ask myself, I'm like, honey, how is that? It just doesn't make any sense. Because anyone that has that R by their name, there's an immediate assumption that there are certain things that you stand for and certain things you don't stand for. If you ask me whether I care for your families, I'm going to tell you I absolutely do. And here's what I believe your family can help the most. And what I can do as your governor that can make a difference. One of the things I always lead with is I'm not running to be your priest. I'm not running to be your social worker. I'm running to be your governor. Which means my concern is that every penny you send to Annapolis, you ought to get the best bang for your buck or get your money back. Period. And do something we call zero-based regulation, where we hold every cabinet leader in our administration responsible for every penny they spend. In other words, before you submit a budget to me, be prepared to convince me that that budget works and tell me why you can't do 10% less, the same way everyday Marylanders are doing the same thing. And with 17 years of business leadership, executive experience, it's something I can do. Another 16 years of military experience leading some of the most stubborn men in the world, United States Marines, I think I can do that pretty well. We have to have serious conversations about our messaging, and you need to too while you're here at this convention. So when you leave these walls, when you leave Shady Grove, when you are driving out the valley, you're taking a serious stance and saying, you know what, we're going to go. As a Maryland Young Republican Party, we're going to stop going to where people already agree with us. And we're going to be bold enough to go and take our message where people don't agree with us and reintroduce our message all over again. Because the other side has had plenty of time to define you. It's time for you to define yourself and stop being scared of conflicting conversations. They happen all the time. Anyone who's ever been married or had a girlfriend understands. Conflicting conversations, they're a part of the ballgame. You know what's true. Don't look away. I'll look away from your bless your heart. I'm trying to maintain an image there. You know what's true. Don't be scared of conflict. Have the conversation. Listen, I am not against families. But it's not before daughters. You got that right. I am not against women. If I were against women, I'd be in trouble right now. I have no boys. Just 4 girls and 1 boy. So I guess we have to be concerned about how we construct our message. We have a message that simply says, vote the way you live.
Exactly.
Vote the way you live. If you don't live off a credit card, don't expect your government to do it. And if you do, then you don't need to be voting in an election. You believe in a balanced budget, expect your government to do the same thing. And not hide behind excuses. Maintain profitability in your government, which means you need to have a surplus. And then don't be scared to cut where there needs to be cut as long as it's the best thing for the people of Maryland. Construct the message. Number 2, the diversity. I leaned into that a little bit when I said you need to be prepared to go where no Maryland Young Republicans have gone before. It's time for you to put your jeans on, throw your boots on, throw your t-shirt on. Make sure it doesn't say, I love Romney. And it's okay to have a draft Lollar with a picture of his face on it if you want to. That's for you. That's for you. You do that. Use that shirt. Go into these schools, link up with their clubs, and start having these conversations. I don't see why the Democrat club at the University of Maryland can't have a meeting with the Republican club or the Republican committee, the Young Republican Committee for the state of Maryland. And have those type of committees around the entire state. You can call those committees or conventions Saving Our State for All Marylanders. Someone needs to be writing that down. That's a really good free idea. If you want to make a difference, if you just want to meet and hear people talk and clap and eat some donuts and coffee and go home, then you know what? You're not in the right fight. You're not in the right fight. But are you ready to do something? Then there's some stuff you can do right now to change the way people see, people think, people look at our party. The diversity. The final piece is the unity. This to me is the biggest part. One of the biggest parts. I'm going to spend a little bit more time on this because it's really this big. We're going to have to come out of this fight as a party unified. This is so important.
Exactly.
The typical Republican, they come to a meeting like this, and when they know that various aldermen are going to be speaking, or various delegates are going to be speaking, or various candidates for governor are going to be speaking, the first thing they do is they compare notes which one is better. Don't do that. Don't do that. Look at it, see the messaging of every person speaking and decide who you want to get behind, realizing that the worst of us in a primary is better than what we have right now in that. Absolutely. Now, marketing, I'll do my job. Come the 4th of the 6th of July, and once we make a full campaign announcement, I'll do my job and market myself. I've never had that problem. I went after the prettiest girl on my college campus. I got her hands down. It was easy. Both hands tied behind my back. Nailed it. Done. I can market myself. I got that part. I'll be able to illustrate the fact that I have like 27, almost 30 years of leadership experience in both the private and the public sector. I'll be able to outline all those things, my fiscal background, my budgets, what I'm used to running, what I'm used to doing, who I'm used to employing. I employ 212 employees. I'll do my job marketing myself. But your job is to hear the message and begin to develop your own grassroots energy as a Maryland Young Republican Club so you can prepare to go to battle. Because teaming up on one against the other, and then the backlash that goes on internet and Facebook, and this person did that, and this person did this. It reminds me of a 9th grade election for 9th grade president. And we're grown people. My 16-year-old daughter looked at a Facebook comment and said, "Gee whiz, Dad, I thought y'all were grown people. You thought y'all were adults. Y'all sound like us." It's pathetic, some of the stuff that goes on. Somebody said, "Why are you always shaking hands with David Craig?" Because I like him. Because he's a good person. Because as long as I've known him, he never said anything negative to me. I like him. I like Dan Bongino. I like Blaine Young. I don't dislike these folks. And people that get in their backyard, well, you know, we gotta clear the field for Arquette to make everybody else look bad. I don't know what school of politics they came from, but you can't do that in Maryland because we don't have the benefit of having a majority here. We're eating our own without even realizing it because nobody wants to put their big boy pants on and say, listen, this is the way for us to win as a team. Last I checked, teams win championships, not individuals. That's why it took Michael Jordan almost 6 years to win his first. Because individuals don't win games. And in Maryland, in order for us to overcome this huge backlog of Democratic support, we got to realize that as a team, when we're one, we can win because there's pockets of Maryland, for example, Prince George's County, the most affluent African Americans in the country. They don't vote like Baltimore Cityans, even though it looks like it, but they don't. But you know what? Half of us haven't spent enough time in Prince George's County to know. Those are business owners out there. They're forming a league called Patriots for Lollar. They went down to the RNC to say, we're getting behind this man, and we expect the RNC to do the same thing. And here's what they said to the RNC yesterday. They said, we're going to come out the closet and let them know that as Democrats, we're supporting this man. And we're already having fun. In principle, what good is it to win a primary if you can't win a general? We're doing the same thing in Baltimore City, going to Minister Alliance meetings. In fact, they have us up now, hosted and helping to teach some of the scriptures at the Minister Alliance meetings with black pastors of mega churches in Baltimore County and Baltimore City. Why are you doing this, Charles? There's no media. I know there's no media. Why are you doing this, Charles? Republicans won't know about it. You won't seem so popular. My issue is not to have people popular. My issue is to get us elected in 14. What are we willing to do? And what are you willing to do? And how hard are you willing to work? At the end of the day, all the talking against people will not work. Listen to the messages. Get excited about your candidate. If I wasn't seriously considering running and my wife and I haven't made that decision, I'm telling you, it's easy to get excited about it, David Craig, for us. I'm still excited about it, and I may be running against him. Maybe, sir. But we have to get along, grow our team together. When we come out this primary, we have to lock hands and do something we're not used to. Get together even though we might not have agreed with everybody and say, listen, we've got to turn Maryland around because Maryland is absolutely a purple state that can turn red. The message, the diversity, and the unity. Do I have any questions? Yes, sir.
This country is right now about 47% dependent, and that was realized in the last election. And your one question there about who do they believe would do best was very well answered in the election. I've got a friend in the Marine Corps, and we were talking about his family one day. This guy, he was from Russia, well, his family's from Russia. I don't mind telling you his name because you'll never remember it. Talk a second. That's right. And we were talking about his family. He's from Pittsburgh.
Yes, sir.
And he never talked about his family. One day we were just having a beer one evening and talking. He said, you never talk about my family. He says, I got a really nice mom, but I don't care if I ever see my dad again. And the reason was he was the youngest of 4. And his mother was a single mom. His father left after the 4th child, and they never heard of him. How on earth did you live? And he says, oh, well, we did it all on welfare. And at that point, I started thinking a lot about this. And I thought about it through the years. This was several years ago. This young man, one of the four, got out, became a police officer. Right now, he's getting ready to retire as a captain of the police department. And what bothers me, this guy pulled himself up on bootstraps. He doesn't pride himself. What bothers me is we are becoming a defense state here, especially in 4 counties in Baltimore City.
Yes, sir.
Now, how would you, and this is a $64,000 question, how would you separate these people, the ones that actually need the welfare and the ones that are in the 3rd, 4th generation of welfare recipients? Get pride back in them to the point where they would want to go back to work instead of living off together.
That is an outstanding question. The reason why I like that question so much is I've had that answer to me, and I've had to face the people in the same room, have conversations with them that feel the exact same way, and allow me to give an illustration example. The short answer, real quick, is this. We have to re-intrigue people in the idea of a Jeffersonian democracy and what it makes, what it takes to make America great. It takes 3 things to make America great. It takes a strong business center. We need entrepreneurs. We need folks to take chances. That's what made America great from the beginning. We need small business, small government, so people get out of the way of business and capitalism so it can work. 3rd thing, and of course I'm oversimplifying, but 3rd thing, we have to have an ethical and moral base, because capitalism is very much a dog-eat-dog type of an economy, but with a moral and ethical concentration and a belief and an understanding that our rights to succeed are not given to us by the government, but they're given to us by our God or whoever our moral and ethical authority is. That's how we sustain these rights. Then and only then will people begin to understand the beauty of what is called America. We need to romanticize again how this country came to be and highlight some very important facts about our country. Number 1, we are the strongest nation, at least used to be, but the strongest nation in the earth. Since our country was established, we've created more inventions than any other country combined since the beginnings of this country. People need to understand how this nation works and then where they are in the very return of this nation. And then the 3rd thing is letting people know that's why and where we have nonprofits. Because we have several broken down organizations in our country, infrastructures, where people don't understand what their role is. Government has assumed the role of nonprofits because, quite honestly, nonprofits stopped doing their job and they went into becoming for-profit organizations. Anytime you have an organization like Wounded Warriors, and Wounded Warriors is supposed to be there to help those that are wounded to come out of combat, and the CEO makes $4 million a year.
Wow.
Something's wrong with that nonprofit. Every time I say that, people say, "Are you serious?" He makes $4 million a year to do what? And who even knows who the CEO of Wounded Warrior is? Paying that man $4 million a year, how many other Wounded Warriors can get help? I have disabled veterans that call me all the time needing help, can't get help. We need to take that salary away from this guy and help some Wounded Warriors that actually came out of Afghanistan that are disabled. I had this conversation, this example I'm going to use. I had it in a classroom down in Southern Maryland at one of the University of Maryland affiliates. It was an economics class. And a young lady sat 4th row on the right side, African American lady, looked at me. She said, "What are you going to do about sequestration?" I understand you Republicans, y'all are all about taking care of business, you're all about financial responsibility, but look at me. Here I am, a single mom with 3 kids, doing all I can to make it. Sequestration is going to take away 1/3 of my income. And now, by the time it's all said and done, I'm going to work 1 day a week. And now I'm going to have to get on welfare. Who's going to help me? And I mean, the room went silent. But for me, it was slow pitch softball. It was just the question I wanted. And I looked at her and I said, "Listen, if this were a perfect world, I would make sure nonprofits play their role that they're supposed to play. If this were a perfect world, we wouldn't have a $16 trillion debt that's quadrupled since our current president has been in office. If this were a perfect world, we'd have more and more neighborly people taking care of each other, realizing the American dream so we can all pull each other up by our bootstraps." I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you're not in need of help, but I am going to sit here and tell you that it's not necessarily the government's job. But that doesn't mean your door's closed. Then I looked at her and I said this, "Because I will help you. My wife is here. She was here sitting on the left side of the room. I said, her and I will help you." We took that lady's number and name down, and we've since connected to help her out of our family funds, because that's how America's driven. Each person takes care of someone else. I say that not for any attaboys or pats on my back. I don't need them. I say that because America works when people work, not when the government grows. Anytime I can go to a church service and a pastor can stand up and point out his $500,000 car the church bought him for his anniversary, something is wrong with our country. Wrong. It's not that we, and the problem is, and that's what a lot of liberals don't understand, the further we get away from our ethical and moral responsibilities that we have with people, the more somebody's got to get involved, because government will if nobody else does. I sat on a panel with Sidney Whitaker when I ran for Congress about 2 years ago, and he sat there and he said, I don't know what Bible my opponent reads. But he said, the Bible I read says we're supposed to take care of the less fortunate. We're supposed to take care of people that are in need. We're supposed to give to those that are hungry. That's the Bible that I read. And the people just started clapping. Oh, I loved it. I loved it. And I sat there and waited till the applause was done. And then I mentioned, it was my turn. I said, I think the congressman is absolutely right. Because I read the same Bible. But the Bible that I read also states this, that I personally am responsible for taking care of those in need, not using somebody else's money to take care of those in need. And if I check your tax returns, you haven't given anything away. You check mine, I've given 13, almost 20% of my income away in need. So you tell me which one of us are doing the will of those that read that Bible. That receives an even bigger applause. The problem is not the messaging per se, it's the principle behind it and how we articulate it and be able to stand in the gap and be bold and say, listen, it's not the government's job to take care of you. It's my job. It's your job. It's our job to find those in need, and then those that are in need cannot be too ashamed to say, yes, I need help.
Okay, if I'm reading this correctly now, you've described a perfect mission here.
Yes, sir.
Executing that mission, are you saying that we do it one nonprofit at a time and one individual at a time? I can't see any other way.
Yes, sir. Well, my idea is to create an alliance. I believe that we need to create an alliance or a partnership, if, again, I'm blessed enough to serve you as your governor, with major nonprofits of various organizations across the state of Maryland. Say, listen, here's how much we spend and entitled to spend in the state of Maryland. Let's do something different. Let's find a way for these nonprofits to take one piece of this at a time and take over these things that the current state government is taking care of right now. They did it successfully in Texas under George W. Bush when he was governor of Texas. Why can't we do it in Maryland? And I think we have some nonprofits that will stand up and say, in fact, a bishop that pastors a church over the evangelical church right across from Six Flags and up in Marlboro, Maryland, said, I've been waiting for something like that for a long time. We want more missions to do and more outreach to do. You don't have to go to Ethiopia for missions. We got plenty of folks that need help right here if the government would just get out of the way.
What about Southern Maryland Public Health Service Commission Corps? I know FDA has United States Public Commission Corps. Problem is they don't have a health education. They lead to the individual community. That way the state commission corps fills the gap what the federal government doesn't do and take the politics out of it. I was doing research on that. I noticed a big gap. Seems to get worse. We go back and forth on it.
Absolutely.
They just care about treatment. I know some people do treatment, but also you have other in prevention, education, other stuff, consumer advice. So.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Nonprofit also.
Thank you very much. I'm Charles Lollar. It's been an honor, very much an honor to stand before you and speak with you. Please don't forget those three things: the message, the unity, and the diversity. Thank you all so much.